Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to rainy Budapest, Hungary, where it rains every day. What is up, guys? Happy November. Beautiful weather we're having here. Today is our game analysis stream. We're going to do game analysis with subscribers. My name is International Master William Pascal. This is my Ponda, our main Ponda. He can be in two places at once. I could do that. Anyway, the camera is not frozen. He has the ability to be in two places at the same time. Yes. But what's up, guys? Asterbait, JCS was here. No? Thought I saw JCS. I guess Asterbait just mentioned him. Asterbait, someone on sound. It was really funny. Before the stream, someone on sound. It's the weirdest coincidence, but I was talking to Asterbait, and he was talking about the Caro Khan, and he said, and he has some games in the Hillbilly Attack. And right at the moment when I was like channeling your persona, I said, "Oh yeah, someone on sound would love that." I noticed you had just appeared in that moment on my stream making some commands in the command line on Twitch. It was just kind of bizarre because I had literally just said your name and you heard me and you just appeared while we were talking. It was really funny. It's like you can hear someone say the Hillbilly Attack from 3,000 miles away and know that you're being heralded. But it was just kind of funny. Guys, we're trying to find a system for Asterbait to play against the Caro Khan, and he's been doing the advanced variation, which is tough strategically. I think we finally settled on something. Kuprejcik system. Actually, Kuprejcik system, I guess that might be in the French, but whatever. It'll work. Caro Khan with advanced with bishop e3. Jeroen, Mule Skinner, Mr. Coffee, Lucas, PSG, Slowhand, Jim, Asterbait, and a good 40%. That gives us 9 games going forward. So pretty much... No, I think I forgot. Oh, Mr. Coffee changed his game. Can you do the second game instead? All right. Mr. Coffee's early on the list. Just, he wanted me to change the game. Change the game, guys. Ooh, girls with high bullet ratings. That's my thing. I'm there. I'm there, James. Maybe Bob would be interested. I don't think Bob does bullet, though. If it was a girl doing a slow chess stream, maybe even Bob would be interested. No. Alright, let's get started. Seriously. The weaker my competitors, the better. That's what I think. Better for me, anyway. So. But, alright. Jeroen is up first. We haven't seen Jeroen in ages. What's that? My game is 11 moves for move 11. Where is move 11? Probably working. Yeah, so it's daytime in America. A lot of different players will be in the streams that weren't here before over the summer. We have a lot of players that couldn't watch that can watch now, and a lot of players who could watch that can't watch any longer. I think move 11 is not going to be here as often. But he's kind of a quiet watcher anyway. So Jeroen's game is up first. Where is it? Hadn't analyzed the game by Jeroen for a long time. He was the first one in early this week. Here it is. Alright. Hey Will, how you doing? I'm fine here. Just wanted to send you my best game so far. Now when he's saying his best game so far, I mean, I'm wondering if he means of like his whole life. So I'm assuming this is an over-the-board game. Now, I don't understand the context of this. Does that mean his best game so far this season, this year, or of all his entire life? All right. We're going to get started. Let me copy and paste this and throw it in a study. It's Jeroen versus Marcel. Jeroen is he's my oldest. There he is. My best game of the year. That was the context I thought it might be. Then again, when you say that, do you mean like year as in like how team championships, club championships, and team tournaments tend to start like in September? Do you mean year by the calendar year or by the season? Fiscal year or calendar year? All right. Anyway. All right. Jeroen is here. And we're going to get started. Let me paste this. I don't take kindly to childish criticisms. Focus on the important things here. F4. Calendar year. No, I mean, like, my team has played 3 matches already. So you could be like, oh, this is my best game of my first 3 or something like that. I've only played, like, maybe 5 tournament games the entire calendar year. So for me... But I have no idea, like, how often you play, Jeroen. We've had 3 matches so far. Strangely, like, the first division of the Hungarian Team Championship didn't start yet. They don't have that many teams. I think they have less teams than usual, so... Actually, like, maybe there's, like, a total of only 8 or 9 matches for the first league. But my division has, like, 10 or 11 teams, so it's quite a few matches. We're in the second division. There are 2 second divisions. All right, let's check it out. Cool. F4, E5. Actually, Arsenal fan was around earlier today, and he had mentioned on the stream he wanted a Gambit continuation against the Birds to play. And I had mentioned you, Jeroen, as the only player really, you know, in my chat in my stream who plays the Birds religiously. But I mentioned to Arsenal that he should play E5 or at least try it because he said he didn't seem to know about the Fromm's Gambit. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest problem for Black here. I mean, I'd never really analyzed this with a computer because I don't face the Birds that often. And I'm happy to just play D5. I'm a D4 player primarily, but looking at the information here from Stockfish and the Opening Explorer, I always assumed, like, you know, transposing to the King's Gambit was like an equally good alternative. But it's pretty obvious that the King's Gambit is kind of more dubious. Like, you have to take the pawn. Alright, so takes. And then Black plays D6. E takes D6. Let me turn off the engine. We can leave the opening book on. Bishop takes D6 now. Pretty much classic Fromm's Gambit. So, and G5 is the violent move, right? This is the main line of the Fromm's Gambit. Once against Jeroen, against you, or no, I don't know who it was. Wait. Oh, I know. I've been white. I've occasionally played, not against Jeroen, but against some people. I played the Birds. I used to do the weird openings on Wednesday stream. So to mix it up, I would occasionally play the Birds. So after knight f3, what's the deal? Is this like completely inferior? D takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop d6. Does this just transpose? So it just transposes, right? I guess what I wanted to ask you, Jeroen, because I don't really study this seriously, you know, is the status of this move. D4. I'm actually surprised by how few games there are. I guess the move order is unusual. Strange. How bad is that? I saw this in a book somewhere. Knight f3. Sorry, I saw this in a book, like an old book, like recommended as something. playable but not mainline. D4. Just curious. So they actually recommend like bishop takes e5, pawn takes, and just queen d1. I had a game with queen h4 check. That's what it was. Maybe like 2 years ago. Oh, this freaked me out, you know, because I had never seen anyone do this. Have you seen this before, Jeroen? Check out the opening book. There's literally no games where this move's been played. Queen h4 check. We have an old mod. Before you were even born, he was a mod here. HTFP. My stream is... my stream has been around that long. We have a lot of... We dug him up. He was my first moderator, but he's not always available. And he probably can't do the American streams. Queen h4 check, g3. So check this out. I remember this freaked me out during Weird Wednesday. I had no idea. Somebody found this over the board. I lost in short order. Or I had a lost position in short order. Short order cook. Yeah, you have me on Betamax. VHS. I think I just threw away a Betamax recorder. I can't believe that there's no games in the Opening Explorer from this position. Is that unreal? I mean, if we consulted like a correspondence database from ChessBase or something, I would bet anything that there are games from this position. How are there no games in the Opening Explorer where this has actually happened? Anyway, it doesn't look critical. Alright. So, it's just better to do the way Jeroen plays. You actually played d4. Oh, I have a weird suggestion. Wait. There was some weird move one of my teammates played. c3. Jeroen, didn't I mention this to you? It was this, wasn't it? c3. Lars Carlsen. Twice. I thought there was somebody else good who played this. Queen a4 check. I don't know if you remember, Jeroen, but I think I probably mentioned this while you were watching one of the streams once. I think the key idea here is the fact that the king has a runaway square on d1. The point is, it looks like this just loses, but there's bishop d7, queen e4 check. Knight e7. I mean, don't try this at home. I mean, maybe it wouldn't even matter that we have this king move. Is the lichess database very large? Telescope, I think that it's like a very standard online database that's used on multiple chess sites. It's like commercially available for these sites like, you know, 365 Chess and others. It seems to be missing a lot of older games. It has most of the modern games, but it's definitely, for whatever reason, they've neglected a lot of the historical games. So, I mean, there's really nothing like pre-1960, which is ridiculous. So no, I don't trust it. It's just a stopgap. You know, if you have another database to I wouldn't trust it. It's not as good as ChessBase. It's just if you got nothing else, it's fairly complete. So let's see what happened. D4, G4, and now knight G5. I'm thinking that my teammate had the same freaking game as somebody. There was a game, Pro Rock versus Szabolcsy, in the Hungarian Team Championship. Or actually, it was the Budapest Team Championship like 2 years ago. My second board, Pro Rock Martin, played something like this against Janos Szabolcsy. This was the game. I was freaking out because the guy plays all kinds of insane stuff. I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, his knight's trapped by h6. You know, I'm watching in horror, like from first board, as my teammate like plays this with white against an experienced IM. I think it was the same position. I can't remember. He might have even won. E4. And I'm pretty sure Sladgie played h6 here. Yeah, it was like this. I was freaking out. I thought, oh my god, he's like lost a piece in 5 moves. E5, bishop e7. And I didn't see that there's some sort of trick, you know, here. This is unbelievable. Knight h3. Look at this. Do you know this? I was like, oh my god, he's losing in 10 moves. And somehow he knew all this, you know. He had analyzed it at home, and Sladgie, like, didn't know more than this. I don't remember if it was a draw or maybe, like, Martin won. But I have this ex-teammate who he would just play the most random stuff. So there's an actual game here. Queen h5 check. It was just like this. Exactly the same game. Bishop c4. Exactly the same game. Rook h7. Is this correct according to the engine? The engine doesn't seem to turn the corner on Rook h7. It suddenly decides that like black is better. c3. I mean, this is a game from 1997, so there's no secret here. Nori is a known Finnish master. Morwaz challenged me, but we're just doing game analysis today. I think that our teammate ended up drawing against Sladgie, if I remember correctly. The position is unclear. White sacrifices and has the strong pawn on e5. The black king isn't safe. It's totally chaotic. I have no idea how it ended in a draw, but it's starting to come back to me now that I think the game was a draw. This guy ended up winning with black, but he's the stronger player too. Yeah. So I mean, I didn't realize that this has already been played once. Let's see. So Jeroen, how much does he know? I mean, going back, right? I mean, this is the more respected move, I assume. It's similar to the other position, except you don't have queen h4, queen 8, queen e4. I think I actually got the two positions confused. This position here, since this is not really an option, so we're forced to play this endgame. And this is just, okay, safe enough. Really safe for both sides. I think the position's okay. It's ugly structurally, but white has a strong bishop. You have to remember. Though this could get... Yeah, these can be confined. It's important to get the bishop out with g3. Bishop e6, g3. Bishop d5 is a little bit scary. But you can just play rook g1. Computer looking at e4. And white is up a pawn, too. He's got to round that pawn up. I don't think it's that bad. But I agree that knight g5 is a little bit more fun. So your opponent played bishop e7, trying to win the piece with the bishop. Well, admittedly, like, this is less weakening than h6. So there's something to be said. There's something to be said for that factor. In the sense it looks better than h6, right? So the key difference is that h6 allows the move rook h7. I mean, that is the move that like saved Sabolchi. It saves that whole variation. So it looks like without rook h7, it's not as good for black. There's an actual game here from 1974. They're even older than me. Good job in preparation by Jeroen. So now you play knight f2. I mean, let's turn the engine off, but clearly everybody would prefer knight f4 to knight f2. So Jeroen must have seen something he didn't like. Or maybe it's just the fact that you're losing that pawn on e4. I mean, this is the best square in the world, essentially. We always want to play knight f4, but I think Jeroen just maybe wasn't comfortable sacrificing the pawn temporarily. And that's the big question. If we take this, I mean, this is a move. Does it do anything? First of all. But the pawn looks kind of weak. Though it can be protected. You know what I mean? It's like knight c3, knight f6. I don't know. I don't know. It's not that easy to get the pawn back, is it? But I think you could sack it like long term. Bishop c4, something like that. You don't need to get this back, you know, necessarily. Like quickly. I think this move was a little bit, you know, a little bit too passive. Like, I don't want to say passive, but restrained. Bishop e5. Bishop e5 has the advantage of developing. You could also just play c3, though. Pawns should be protected by pawns. What do you guys think? I mean, c3 is... Damn, that pawn is strong. That's the ultimate pawn on d4. You can castle either side. I don't think that white should necessarily commit themselves to one idea or the other. Well, I think that Jeroen is a safe player. He tends to lean on the side of caution. He's a solid birds opening player. There are different varieties of bird opening players. Some are more maniacal than others. My teammate is the maniacal kind. He's a safe birds exponent. But bishop e5, I like bishops, and I don't want to trade my bishop for a knight unless I get something good for it. So this is funny. He just totally doesn't respect the pawn structure. But he gains the bishop pair. And I mean, a lot of pawns on white squares, right? But his bishop is still coming out, you know, it's still getting out effectively on e6. My gut instinct here is that it's not that bad for black. This was a team that I don't know that I'm still playing for. It's the Budapest Team Championship, and not sure if I'm even on the team anymore. It's very weak now. We won the Budapest Team Championship 2 years ago. Last year we fell short. I keep getting challenges, but I'm not playing challenges today, guys. Queen d3, good move. a5, Warnaki. See, that's the piece. That's a scary piece. You know, it's a bad bishop. It's the bad bishop that could. 1600 in bullet and 2130 in blitz. Okay then. Makes sense. He has the roller ball, the IBM ThinkPad to do bullet with. What do you call that thing in the middle of the IBM ThinkPad? You like you make the moves with the little eraser. Explains the 1,000-point difference in bullet and blitz. a5, bishop a6. This is a serious problem. On the other hand, I mean, can this guy just give you that pawn? Yeah. Can he just give you the pawn? He's got queen d5. See, if you take here, you did take, and this is the problem. Jeroen, did you see that? because I don't like this anymore. I don't really like queen d5 happening to me. Maybe you can just play like knight c3, bishop a6, queen e3. Queen e3. Try to play bishop d2 and castle queenside. Yeah, I mean, it turns out that queen d3 might actually be a bad move in retrospect because a5 is so strong. I think you just be principled here and play knight to c3. So I like queen e3. It's maybe you're getting a little too fancy. Maybe you should just castle kingside, honestly. I mean, as scary as that looks. I mean, I find this hard to believe that like g3 is an attack or something. My instinct is to stay flexible and try to keep the option to castle either way. You also have queen e2. All right, that's it for the master. The master is done. Master is done. All right, 3 strikes and you're out. All right, where am I? I lost the game? Dude, seriously? I have to paste it again. Dude, you're distracting me. All right. So, I think here, Jeroen, you should play knight c3. It's a universal move. You're going to have to play knight c3 almost no matter what. And you don't give away your plan. The stream just started, Oliveira Lucas. You're like the 4th game. You're supposed to be the 4th game. So I don't really like this. This is a problem. He's able to recapture, and then this is a secondary threat of queen takes g2. Maybe you can sack the g2 pawn. But you would need to be able to like hold on to f5 to justify that. Okay, so that's what he's trying to do here. Essentially, maybe black will take on g2 and our rook is protected and we can hold on to the pawn on f5. What I'm saying is if black doesn't get the pawn on f5, if he doesn't round that up, it could really mess up his whole coordination. So if I'm black in this position, Jeroen, I'm playing queen takes f5, or yeah, queen takes f5. If I want to be on the safe side. I guess he's just down a pawn, though, at the end of the day. He has some compensation, probably. Queen takes f5. The 2 bishops, some space with those flank pawns. Some weaknesses in your position on the white squares. I mean, this probably isn't a full pawn down. Computer disagrees, though. Computer thinks it's definitely lost. I mean, I don't know. I always think the stockfish evaluations are totally exaggerated. It's usually like double what a human would evaluate. Whenever I think it's like a pawn, it says 2 pawns. It seems like it's always high. I would think that black has practical chances here. But all right. He did take on f5. Wow. So what happens here? This is far more unclear. I mean, if the other variation is really -2, then probably black should go for this. Yeah, so he erred on the side of caution. Now there's the threat of bishop h4. It would be a lot more unclear what the heck is going on. Very little chance of a draw, I would think, in this line. So queen takes f5, castles. And queen takes d3, knight takes d3, bishop a6, b3, maybe a4. So I think that black has some compensation, but it's probably, you know, laughed at by the computer. This could be a serious problem now, you know. Imagine how different the game would be with the bishop on f5. This piece that now has more centralized location. On a6, it's possible it never breathes again, you know. It maybe never gets in the game at all. It's like a scotch. It's a really perverse scotch. Positionally, if you're waiting for a tactical beatdown, I think you're going to be disappointed. It's a positional shutout. Just playing with no piece. He's got no bishop. Horrible. Horrible, terrible, delicious. Now all the white pieces are in the game. Are we losing that pawn, and do we even care? What? So he drops... Wait. So if bishop d4... Bishop d4, you're just killing him? But no forced win? Strategic death? Imagine this position. Bishop d4, rook d4. Something like knight to c5. This doesn't exist. It's like worse than a pawn, because at least pawns can move forward. If you want to call it tactics, Duke, we could call it tactics. There wasn't a mate, but I don't think it even matters. I don't think it even matters. No, there's no mate. The mate that wasn't a mate, but you know what? I just don't think it even matters. Yeah, you can just play like this. You might have a problem here, though. Like rook here. So I think your best bet would just be to like trade the bishops and play knight c5 with crushing bind, essentially. You're threatening like knight e6 now. There probably would be no defense to that. I think you'd be hard-pressed to defend this for black after knight c5. This is really over now. I mean, rook f8 threatens to win a piece, and I don't think there's a defense. So he goes back. He's strategically dead, though. But how do you finish him off? That's the question. Strategically. No piece. The bad bishop versus bad bishop. Like, whose bad bishop is worse? Magnus Carlsen-esque technique here by Jeroen. Heading for the ops color bishop situation. Pawn grabber. Man, you're cutting it close with that move. Objectively, I think you should probably trade rooks and leave the knights on the board, dude. Because in the pure ops color bishop endgame, there's a chance this guy's going to draw. You know, I mean, probably not, because his position is so weak structurally and he's losing a second pawn. I wouldn't want to risk that. You know, I wouldn't want to risk that. I think you should just keep the knight on the board, dude. Let's see. He'll try to trade the knight, but then you've got knight e6, for example. You know, I think this is a very important point. Maybe you're winning, maybe not, with the two pawns up and ops color bishops. But why run the risk of it being possibly some miracle draw here? You know. This is now kind of dodgy. Looks very winning. Well, I mean, if this falls, it's obviously winning. He is tied down to c7. Yeah, I guess it's good enough. You're right. It doesn't matter. It's good enough. Because he's tied down to that, he's lost. I mean, I guess there's still a chance he could play h4. You know what? H4. He's got this one last chance. Does king d6 really work? I was thinking maybe h4. To try to play bishop c8. Try to hang on to the queenside or kingside pawn. Let's see, king d6, bishop c8. But now it's over. I mean, can't you play like here? He's gonna try to go active to f5. I get it. Now you have a serious problem down here. Now hold on a second. You have bishop e4 check, of course. Yeah, that's the key move. Good. Interfering with his own bishop. Threatening this. He's got another way in. And that's a good pawn to have. And now you're threatening king g5. I'm not sure if you want to rush to take on h5 or not. Probably want to play like bishop a5 first. Tie him down to c7. So you have multiple ways to win here. Now you don't have bishop a5 any longer. The pawn is a really strong decoy. Well, I mean, his last chance will be king f5, king e4, and in. He played bishop a6. You played what? Bishop d2. Oof. That's an unpleasant surprise, Ruin. That's a nice move. This really is a nice move. Because if he takes on h5, black plays king f5, and there's still theoretically, you know, maybe like black can play bishop c8, king e4, and pray for some miracle. So I think this is a nice accuracy. Rather than an inaccuracy, we can call it an accuracy. This is an accuracy, bishop d2. Threatening bishop f4. You know, that sort of breaks his back. I mean, look, guys, there's a lot of endgames where it's opposite-colored bishops and 2 pawns down and it's a draw. You know, this is not trivial. Never trivial. Kind of funny end there, here. After c5, how do you decide whether to take or play d5 check? d5 check. Alright, well, if I'm black, I'm playing at least one more move. King e5. He resigned here. But I'm going for the last hope. King e5. Bishop f4 check. King d4. Bishop takes c7. King c3. d6. Oops. Yeah, our counterplay is a little bit slow. See, a6. That's it. So he can't get any counterplay. It's over. No, it was a good endgame. You know, it was a good positional win. But you're lucky. You know, you're really, really lucky because he should have taken on g2. You know, and even after that, I mean, maybe bishop a6 was the really killing move. I mean, if he plays bishop f5, that's illegal. Castles. Bishop f5 is illegal. That's why castles was such a strong move, actually. Preventing bishop f5. We didn't mention this before. This basically has no way to get into the game. He would have to go to e6, but it's very ineffective there. Perhaps this was his chance. If b3, a4. What do you think, Arun? Bishop b2? Not so simple. Bishop e2. At least he could put up some practical resistance. You know, I would never give up. There's still hope. You know, he's got the bishop. He's got bishop pair, some active pieces. King in the center, maybe not that bad. But I think once he plays bishop a6, this piece dies for the rest of the game. That's pretty much game over. And also, maybe b3, he has to try a4. This is a worse situation, though. It's blocked. His rook is blocked by his own bishop on a6. Nah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work now. It's like here, here, here. Now he's like self-pinned. So black is lost strategically. Okay, guys, that was a long analysis. I got to make it a little bit faster. Mule Skinner is up next. Guys, we're doing game analysis for subscribers for my stream. Mule Skinner, where are you in the list here? Wait, there was Jeroen. Mule Skinner should have been next. Far from perfect game. Aren't they all? It is interesting to hear your thought, especially the opening as I'm trying to learn a new system against the London, including going for the b-pawn. Yeah, I was just talking about queen b6. I was talking about this exact position today. Ironically, Mule Skinner. So, yeah, lack of development. But sadly, Euro's opponent missed the golden opportunity of grabbing the g-pawn in that game. Would have been a real struggle. So, honestly, I looked at one of these with one of my students today who was playing white. And such a popular opening now, the London system. But here, does anybody know, really what the truth is about knight f3 and c3? I mean, look how much more popular c3 is than knight f3. You're welcome, Jeroen. So, look at the difference in the opening Explorer. It's like 1,000 games versus 173. My student played knight f3. We got a lot of transpositions, though. It's up to 1,200. So, I guess it's just a question of transposition. How do you decide whether to play knight f3 or c3 with white here, is what I'm trying to say. c3 is more of a concession. It's a slower move. It's more solid for white. There's a funny game I saw today between two Hungarian masters. Sadly, Lengel Bela passed away, but there's a game I saw here with like queen b6 was like this. Knight f3, queen b6, queen b3, c4, queen c2. Not this position. The knight was on d2 somehow. How would it have gone? Bishop f5? No, I don't know how I'm getting there now. That's weird. Never mind. But anyway, knight f3. I don't know which move was better. c3, knight c6. So you can also play queen b6 right away here, Mule Skinner. I feel like c3 is slightly passive and should increase black's chances of equalizing. Knight d2, yeah. That's kind of a classic setup for white, the classic London system. But I would think that queen b6 is critical. What I was looking at with my student today was after knight f3, black tries to play queen b6 right away. And what's the best way for white to react in this case? So knight c3 now. That's the problem. That's the line that's dangerous. See, you keep that in reserve if you don't play c3 right away. We must have been looking at a different position, actually. It must have been knight c6, knight bd2, and then queen b6. There's so many different versions, We looked at this today, I think. D takes c5, queen takes b2. I was looking at this, rook b1. This is such a strange position and difficult to figure out what's going on. I guess you just have to memorize, Memorize the analysis. It's kind of an irrational situation, I think. Looks like white is better according to statistics.
But let's see, c3, knight c6. You know, the later you play queen b6, the sounder it is, probably. So here he's supposed to play knight d2. The point is, what, knight d2, queen b6? I don't even get it. Why is knight d2 so great? I don't really understand. Like, why is knight d2 so great? Queen b6? Maybe we're going to transpose to what I was trying. No, that's different. Queen b3, c4, queen c2, bishop f5. Yeah, so this is messed up. This is the game. This is ridiculous. Check this out. Balázs Martini, another one of my former teammates against Sladgie Bela. This guy can just take on f5, you know? I can't believe this is a real game. You know what? Maybe it was like a Grandmaster draw, and they just weren't even like... I had the feeling that probably these guys just played a bunch of quick moves and agreed to a draw. And Bela just played bishop f5 thinking it would work, but this actually doesn't work. You can take on f5. Black doesn't clearly have enough for the piece. That's funny though. The exact position I was looking at today. So let's see how your game went. Knight f3, queen b6. This has got to be critical. Obviously, queen c1 is passive. Queen c2 is kind of funky. That has the best score. I mean, what's the idea here after bishop f5? Queen c2, bishop f5, d takes c5, bishop takes c2. Another one of my teammates, two of my former teammates, are the first two games. It's so weird. Why are only Hungarian games in here? Gally Schwan plays the London system every single game, and Huang Trong started to play it too. You guys wonder why I banned the London system from my simul and stuff. It's like an insidious disease. Everybody plays it. C takes b6, A takes b6. Knight a3. Gela actually lost with white in this position. Knight a3. How did he lose here? This actually looks slightly better for white. So not convincing. That is slightly better for white. Okay. Queen b6, queen b3, c4. So you can play queen c2. Alright. Bishop f5. But this is a standard position. I lost this position with white in like the first IM tournament, the second IM tournament where I made a norm. In like 1998, 1997. Ketchkamet in 1997. My second IM norm. I lost. This is the only game I lost in the tournament. Against Zoltan Shikloshi. I played the London system with white. I've played like 3 London systems with white, and this was one of them. But I think that the game was different. Somehow the game went differently. Alright. E6. Knight bd2. Bishop e7. Now white played b3. Kamsky, you know, he's been playing closed queen pawn games since he came to the United States in like 1989. He used to play the Tory attack all the time. So he just sort of modified his repertoire at some point, you know. He started with like d4, knight f3, bishop g5, d4, knight f3, bishop g5, d4, knight f3, bishop g5. And then he like switched it to d4, knight f3, bishop f4. It's not a big difference, really, you know. Once the London system became popular, it was easy for Kamsky to switch. Once you play this kind of systematic queen pawn game, you can kind of switch in between. I think that b3 is a really bad move by white. It's natural, but I'm concerned about the c file here. If black takes on b3 and plays like rook c8, Do you guys ever study the games of Akiba Rubinstein? He was like the first really strong player to master the London system. But see, he never played it exclusively. He would play like mainline queen pawn stuff too, as well as e4. You know, it's fine to try the London system, but play other stuff too. B3, CB3, AB3. An old game by the computer. Pre-computer computer. Igor's Rousis Sans engine. When he wasn't fully hybridized. To me, it seems most natural to play Rook C8 directly. Rook C8 directly. What about that? He was still human. The engine's claiming knight h5 is the best move. It's always a difficult thing to judge that, though. You know, when it's good to play knight h5, when it's good not to play when you can allow knight h4. I always feel like knight h5 is kind of a waste of time. I guess it's a case-by-case basis. Honestly, I mean, that's why here, you know, nobody plays b3. They either play h3, securing bishop h2, or they just develop with like bishop e2. That looks solid. Alila game, very similar. Knight bd2. But there's no way you should play b3. That's attacking the head of the pawn chain. You know, white should... I know that it's impossible to get it in, but white really should be trying to play e4. But I think that knight h4 is connected to that, right? Has anybody played knight h4? Yes. That's the fourth most common move. Well, let's go forward. We didn't even talk about bishop e7. I just assumed that's the best move. You can also play h6. This needs to be considered. Rui Gao, who I played in Ketchikamut 10 years ago. Chinese grandmaster. Nothing wrong with h6. Bishop e7, b3, that's wrong. So computer's claiming the Relange is right about knight h5. Rouse has played bishop g5, f6, bishop h4. This makes complete sense. And then g5, bishop g3, rook c8, bishop e2, knight b4. Whew, that looks nasty. White just castled out of it. Damn, dude, look at this. Maybe it was a computer back then. Look at this game. The end of the day, Black went on to lose this. I don't know. All right, guys, let's focus on the task at hand. So castles, very solid. h3, rook c8, and this is it's fatal, right? Just fatal. I mean, now it's just completely over. And now after c5, just, you know, for sake of argument, could we just play this? I guess it's not that clear. You know, knight e5, queen e8, rook a7, knight c2 check. And the king is in the center, but it's nothing really clear. So this move, much more businesslike. So basically you sack a piece, you're going to win back the exchange. So you're going to get 2 pawns. You're basically going to get 2 pawns and a rook for 2 pieces, which is materially equal. But I guess the decisive factor would be the development. Are you just going to rifle him with like double rooks on the c-file and mate? It's over. Yeah, I mean, this is over. Black is fully mobilized, and I mean, even if you did like rook c1 check, it would probably be difficult for white to defend. So he tries, and that's what he did. I don't know if that's the best, but for me, I mean, white is playing a rook down in this position. It's almost like he's down a queen for a bishop or something. Fundamental. A nice try. Now there you have an intermezzo, like queen e1 check. That certainly looks interesting. That would paralyze him. He just dropped a piece. Okay, so let's say he defends. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like a double threat. It's just lost now. It's too much. There'll be mating threats with the pawn. Yeah. E3, F3, E3. F3 creates a mating threat of C1. And there's also the weakness on F2. There's no way that white can defend. It's like, there's no way to defend against the mate on C1 without playing king D1, which drops the F2 pawn, essentially. He did find a way. The only way. You know, it's starting to look like almost a fortress territory now. I wonder if the doubled F pawn even matters. At that point, it looked like a weird move. Like you should play king D3 here. I don't think there's an answer to that. Slight problem. There's multiple mates. I think that's even stronger. It's double mate threat. Queen D2 and Queen D1 and Queen G1. King should be centralized. This is still good enough. That wins a piece. Oof. Everything. Mate. Alright. Yeah, no, I mean, white drifted into a kind of quiet line, and I think the B3 is just not good. Even though Rouse has managed to win. Not such an impressive, correct game. Guys, we're trying to move fast, but I'm a little bit too slow. I'm going to have to speed it up. Mr. Coffee, can you do the second game? Guys, thanks for joining the stream. Thanks for, by the way, supporting the stream with donations. Mr. Slowhand donated 2,000 bits this week. Jim with 600, Warnocky 300, Merle, and Cardiffian with 100. Thanks also for the gift subs, Anonymous, and thanks everybody for subscribing. So you can also check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. I do upload the old streams there if you ever want to watch a replay. They run out on Twitch. You guys can also make a streaming donation. Someone on Sound frequently does. See your name in lights. Okay, we got to find Mr. Coffee. Can you do the second game instead? Here's the study. Mr. Coffee's not here. Now, this is another funny coincidence. This guy that Mr. Coffee played is a player who I know pretty well because he was from Boston. Chris Chabris actually did an MRI of my brain and I lost. There was a scientific study he was doing on chess players. I actually had to analyze positions, and he's a scientist, psychology, and he was doing a study. So I had to analyze positions while they were doing an MRI on my brain, and I was really sad because when I moved like 15 years ago, my previous residence, I lost the MRI. Hold on a second, guys. So Mr. Coffee's not here, but if he sees Chris again, he can ask him where my MRI is. My brain scan. It was cool. I had this like, X-ray type printout of my actual brain. That's something you get every day. Anyway. So Chris Chabris, he was a psychologist at Harvard. I don't think he's there anymore. Anyway. Chabris versus Mr. Coffee. I used to play Chris in Blitz sometimes. For money. Alright, what is this? Chris is white. He plays e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3. Mr. Coffee plays d takes e4. I'm beginning to think that maybe Mr. Coffee should switch to something more durable. I think this system he's playing here, this Fort Knox variation, it's just too much of a concession strategically. It looks like the better option is to not play d takes e4. To really learn either the winnower or the classical French with knight f6. But if you do play this, judging by the games I've seen lately, I feel like it's better to play knight d7. The statistics don't bear it out, though, necessarily. It looks comparable between knight d7 and bishop d7. With bishop d7, white has more wins and black has more wins. So, alright. Bishop d7, knight f3, bishop c6, bishop d3, knight d7, c3. I don't know that this is the main line, c3. I think we should switch Mr. Coffee to the main lines. It's a lot to learn, though. So from my perspective, the sharpest way white can continue in these type of positions in the Rubinstein is fantasies of castling queenside. It would be nice in a perfect world if black played passively, to play for queenside castling. You can see that the main line is castles, but queen e2 is kind of a move that looks like, you're kind of hoping, you'd be kind of hoping there's still a chance to castle queenside if you play queen e2. But once white plays c3, I would think there would be limited chances for that. It does secure d4. It's certainly not a bad move, and I don't think Chris just made this up over the board. He probably, studied this enough, he knows this. But I remember once there was a Wesley So Kobian game from the U.S. Championship where Kobian got mauled by... It was a Rubinstein French, and it was queen c2. He was able to, So was able to play queen c2, cause some problems with black's king side, and then still castled queen side, and he still got this strong attack against the Kobian. It was 3 years ago, and Kobian lost with all different openings with black. He lost with the French, he lost with e4, e5, and he lost with the Caro-Kann Scandinavian or something. He had to play Nakamura, So, and Caruana, and lost all three with black. It's pretty tough. So Mr. Coffee here, knight on gf6, knight f6, knight f6. And now Chris seems to know the theory. He played bishop f4. This is like a game 45 league. Yeah, no, it's Lone Wolf. Okay, so this is game 30. Yeah. It looks like you can play bishop f3, queen f3, queen d5, and grovel for a draw. Fun. Mr. Coffee didn't do it. I mean, is it possible that we're delaying that because... Okay, there's one thing that bothers me already. After bishop e7, white can possibly play knight e5 here. If bishop takes g2, rook g1, and I'm concerned about rook takes g7. This doesn't look healthy to me. Unless black has some kind of miracle like queen d5 in this position. It looks totally artificial. Should we check with the oracle? See if this is sound. f3 almost traps the bishop on g2. It's not good. It's not good, but it probably is the best move if you're going to go into this. So that's funny, like knight e5. So it looks like Mr. Coffee needs to play bishop takes f3. Ironically, Grandelius played this, but now black can still take on f3. See, that's the trick. Black got like snuck in almost like a free move, and still Wang... Is that Wang Yui? Or is that someone else? Wang Yiye is somebody else. Bishop f3, queen f3, and then he played c6. I guess that's normal. I mean, queen d5 looks a little more active to me. Doesn't it make more sense to play queen d5 here? Or is it just me? We're dropping the pawn on c7. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, God. We have to play c6. And white is better. All right. Queen f6 is okay. Uber driver, get out of here. Uber driver, you would play queen f6. You probably play the Rubinstein French too. I think I might have lost once on the white side of Rubinstein French to somebody in the Boylston Chess Club. You mean G takes f6? Oh, G takes f6. Looks like a Q, dude. How's your keyboard? A Q f6? Are you saying queen f6 or G f6? Because G f6 looks like something that one of my other students did once. Highly Heinrich Dobos, Hungarian IM, against Michael Schaefer, whoever that is. G f6 looks experimental. Oh, no. Queen f6. Isn't there a trap here? Bishop g5, bishop takes f3, queen d2. I mean, everybody knows this, but Uber driver. Everybody but Uber driver knows this trap. Everyone in the room saw bishop a5 except for you, William. This is just known. It's a known queen sacrifice, Uber driver. Your G is backwards. No, that's not healthy. I think the key is to take on f3 right away. Like Yasser Seirawan lost really badly against... who was it? Against Leiko. This is a great matchup, stylistic matchup. Leiko against Yasser Seirawan. I mean, what could get more boring than that? Seriously. And you'd think it would be a draw, but Leiko managed to pull it out. Like, seriously. At one point, both those players were amazingly aggressive, but actually they both toned it down too much. I'm not one to criticize, but anyway. You don't have to go bishop f3, but I think you should. You know, that's the moral of the story. I think you should. It looks like bishop d6. You know what? Bishop d6 is a neat idea. Doesn't that just drop a pawn? Bishop d6, bishop d6. What's the idea? You sack a pawn here? That's crazy. White is just down a pawn. Up a pawn. Whatever. That's totally ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. So c6 is mandatory, and then white can avoid the exchange of queens, or even if he doesn't, it's not a big deal. This is just better. This is Leko Sarawan, game over. Your chances of drawing against the computer with this position are exactly 0 if you're black here. It will win every single time with the 2 bishops and the attacking chances. Just a thankless position. All these grandmasters got draws. Black is the higher rated player in most games. We got to get Mr. Coffee with a new system. Uber Driver said, I've played that trap with white. So let's see what happened. You better take on f3. Yeah, I think that Chris Chabris missed his window of opportunity to play knight e5 here. Queen d5 is a funny move, though. That's cool. You could try that. Just knight takes c6 with a slight advantage for white. A lasting advantage. Okay, whatever. It's fine. He can allow bishop takes f3. White is slightly better. This also happens in the queen d8. The great queen d8 Scandinavian, which is recommended by some guys who wrote books on it. As if like retreating the queen to d8 in the Scandinavian is going to solve black's opening problems. You can get the exact same basic position by playing that opening as this. Thankless and hopeless for black, basically. Rook e1, queen b6. Okay, so how are we going to do this? In order to save the game, I mean, I think you ought to be playing c5, but you can't. Can we play c5 somehow? No. That's out. Yeah, throwing the a-pawn down the board is one of my favorite stratagems here, when I have no counterplay. I would think. Bishop d6 to try to trade pieces, and if bishop g5, you go back to e7, maybe? This transposes to a Bulgarian game from 1986. I would think queen h3. You probably have to play g6, Mr. Coffee. And I don't want to play a computer in this position. Mr. Coffee likes to play computers. Even Magnus Carlsen would lose every single game if he had to play a computer in this position with black. Not even a draw. It's just too unpleasant. Alright. Yeah, the Fort Knox variation looks like it's just not good. The Fort Knox is more like not a very safe place for your money. There's no gold in Fort Knox. b4. So Chris is trying to stop c5 while simultaneously defending his pawn. I mean, rook e2 looks very safe. That would be my first guess. But black can get in c5 with a little bit of counterplay. So white tries to disallow that. There should be some ramifications of b4 though. Coffee gets some counterplay with a5. a3. At least that, keeps white a little bit busy. But again, there's no way for black to get any active counterplay. Rook e8 is good. Queen h3 is good. The Mr. Coffee here might have made a mistake. He played h6. But when you play h6, there's a strong likelihood that white has some sacrifice, like bishop f4, bishop takes h6. I guess you can play bishop f8, though. I'm concerned about a rook lift to e3. There may be no defending against that. The rook lift looks devastating. I'm thinking g6. What's so bad? It's bad too. The rook lift's strong against this too. Geez. Looks like it's almost over. Queen h4, rook h3. Rook lift is strong in all lines. Okay, h6, rook e3. Mr. Coffee, what are you going to do? Some sort of desperate exchange sacrifice here? Good. I couldn't defend this position. It's not your fault that you lost this game. It's the opening. You know, there's really nothing to do. What about like evacuation? King f8? Is it too late to evacuate? He tried. Might as well exchange pawns. And then Mr. Coffee panicked. Panic mode. Not an easy position to play, though. Can you play bishop d6? Maybe you have a better version of an exchange sacrifice. Bishop d6. Look at this. Computer. Bishop d6, rook d6, rook g7, queen g3 check and takes. Everything wins. There's no way out of this. So just go to the A file and see what you can dredge up over there. Any strong player is going to win this position with white, though. Desperate exchange sacrifice. It just doesn't do anything. You know, you're just down the exchange. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, you know, not taking anything away from Chris Chabris, but I feel like any strong player, this position almost like wins itself after the opening. Mr. Coffee has to get himself a real variation of the French and stop playing this. The other line is not as bad. I mean, knight d7 is definitely better than bishop d7. It feels like, to me. Check out some George Meyer games or something. Who plays this? All right, what are we going to do? Lucas is up next. Lucas sent me a new link, but I was going to do the game. You sent me a game before, right? This is the game you told me about during the stream. I thought I made a good match, but computer says one blunder. One mistake and 3 imprecision, so I wanted to know from human perspective. Yeah, that's the standard sort of number of mistakes. I mean, I often have the same in one game. Last week I made 2 such blunders in the same game. I haven't played my second match. Somebody was asking me earlier, how did my second match go? I'm going to play on Sunday. So hostile king is white. So it's a Sicilian with a hyper-accelerated dragon. So this is one of my old favorite openings. At the master level, it just seems like c4, the Marazzi bind is the biggest problem. It's almost impossible for black to equalize. There's like this slow spatial advantage for white. If they don't play that, I feel like black has fair chances. He played d4, c takes d4, and now c3, turning it into a delayed Smith-Morra gambit. So, someone on sound here, our resident Smith-Morra expert, this particular move order should give black, why is it hyper-accelerated? Because the normal accelerated dragon is like knight c6, followed by d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and then g6. And that's the accelerated dragon. Because in the normal dragon, you play it, you know, in the normal dragon Astrobate, you play like d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, followed by g6. That's like the traditional dragon. Knight c6 without playing d6 is the accelerated dragon. And when you play it on move 2, this is the hyper-accelerated dragon. So d4, c takes d4, c3, and then, so you have 3 options here. You can play maybe more. Yeah, probably 3. Take the pawn, play knight f6, or play d5, or bishop g7. So four options. No one has tried knight f6. Of course, this position doesn't happen very often. This would be a very experimental continuation. There are games, kids. This is a risky line. you're basically playing a sharp line, the tempo down. But black's results are okay. Computer says it's plus 0.9. If you want to try something edgy, that's a good pick. There's also like d5. There's some computer refutation here that these guys didn't find. Cabrillo, who's a Serbian grandmaster and trainer, he didn't find queen a4 check. This is apparently the best move. So that's an interesting possibility as well, if you want to decline the gambit. Yeah, the Norwegian rat sometimes in blitz. Well, I mean, okay, this is sort of what Stuk is talking about, I guess, like knight h5 or something. You can do these crazy things. I don't know. You know, is that the Norwegian rat? I mean, some kind of like modern defense. I mean, I'm talking about stuff like this. Like e4, g6, d4, knight f6. I don't know if this has a name. Norwegian defense, yeah. So that's why I was talking about this today with someone too. Like e5, knight h5. They actually play this, you know. This must be what you're talking about, Stuk. Now, if you want to be really experimental here, I mean, d4, c takes d4, c3. Look, you know, knight f6, e5, knight h5. Get extra hyper modern. The old grandmaster from Israel, Jakob Murray, who some people here know, probably like people from France because he lived there. Murray specialized in playing stuff like this, really weird. With white, you can do it in English too. Really weird, ultra hyper modern kind of thing where your knight gets fianchettoed back on g7 if white plays g4. I mean, this is actually surprisingly durable. You have threats of h5 now for black. Literally the best move. I mean, this may look completely alien, but actually white is overextended a little bit, I think. Slightly overextended in this position. It's possible. So, that's interesting. Anyway, he does the principal thing. Lukas takes the pawn. The problem here, Lukas, is that, you know, traditionally, I think as fianchetto, black don't castle. No, not in that. But the nice thing about the Sicilian, Lukas, is that because you're not playing a classical opening, you have all these pawns to protect you in the center. So you don't necessarily have to castle early or castle at all. Your ability to delay castling is quite strong in the Sicilian defense. I don't like castling. If I don't have to, you know. Alright, so knight takes c3. Now, this variation is not like really... we'll have to ask someone on sound. But this variation is not really highly recommended for black. But the last couple times I've looked at this, it doesn't seem like there's any real problems if black plays carefully. It's not clear if bishop g7 or knight c6 makes a difference. Bishop g7 seems more natural. Bishop c4, knight c6, castles. So you'll notice here, right here, it looks like this move seems to be the recommendation of all the theorists. Yeah, I mean, I think that the assumptions that people have, someone on sound, that certain variations are just bad, are being, you know, rethought. So if you take the pawn here, it's like really dangerous for black. I mean, the obvious trap is knight takes e5. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, queen d5. This is messed up. I mean, I've never actually analyzed this. I mean, one would assume that black has chances, but I wouldn't assume the computer thinks that black is better. I mean, dude, this is like extremely dangerous. We have no development. The dark squares are weak. I mean, man, there's no games that even went like this. This is like, you got to be a nutcase to play this for black. You got to be willing to risk your life. But if you analyze far enough with the computer, maybe you could make this work for black. This is cutting edge theory. Yeah, never been played. I mean, but it looks like it's an inaccuracy. I guess white's supposed to play bishop takes f7 check. But if this is the best that the Mora has, this is it. Queen d5 check. King g7. Queen takes e5 check. Knight f6. Look at this. Miso Sabalo has 2 games with black, okay? He's a dragon expert. I mean, he's an amazing player. He's probably like 70, and he still plays the dragon against young players. Really spirited player. He doesn't play for draws. He's 70 years old, and he's like fighting and fighting, playing sharp games. Really good preparation, though. He was a like world-class Yugoslav grandmaster. He's still like 2380 or something. Castles, we played once. I think I was white, though. But it wasn't the e4. No, he was white. It was a Nimzo. I was black. He played a Georgiev variation. That was it. Castles. Yeah, it looks like this is kind of critical position. Black can defend. So that's one option. You can actually take the pawn. And the second option, option B, is to play knight h6. And that's the move that seems even better. According to the engine, anyway. Knight h6. So knight takes e5 if you want to draw. This is definitely going to make someone sound happy. And if you want to play for a win, then you play knight h6. But anyways, let's see what happens. So the natural castle, now d6. And now what? What does white do? Queen b3. What's up on queen b3? Can somebody tell me? Yeah, Korchnoi, an old fighter to the end. The difference between Korchnoi and Miso Sabalo is that Miso Sabalo is a nice guy. There's a big difference. But, you know, the meanness of Korchnoi probably made him like 100 points stronger. Queen b3. Ah, so we have the classic knight a5. Just this disarms it. You can't take on f7 here without dropping a piece. Queen d5, knight f6. It's tragedy. Someone on sound has nightmares about things like this. So white has to like content himself with bishop b5, bishop d7, and then he doesn't get anything. This is why there's no other good move, right? Queen e2, no, bishop f4. Okay, this doesn't do so much here, like in the normal lines. So you just get to develop naturally. I mean, this is great. You've like avoided all the scary. Yeah, Uber Driver suggested h3. Probably should play that now. Or you could play it like right away, like Uber Driver suggested. That's probably not so bad to play h3. At least stop bishop g4. Although, I'm not sure that we have bishop g4 yet. Kind of a neat trick there. To play queen e2 instead of bishop f4. That way you might trick black into playing bishop g4. I don't know how many times I almost fell for this in other lines, like bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7 check, knight g5 check. You know, probably we should give black the chance to blunder there with queen e2, and then play h3. Actually, Adams Nunn, 1992. Knight f6, h3. So that's an old classic from 1992. But I still think that black is doing okay here. Bishop f4 not as good. And here black misses bishop g4. This just puts white out of business, pretty much. So, Lukas, this is stronger than your move, probably. You just get rid of one of those dangerous pieces. I mean, it's not that it's easy, but
I would feel better about trading instead of pieces. My pieces get out. You know, it wasn't clear whether bishop on c8 is going to get into the game. I think this is a much better move. So you gave him a chance to play h3, you know, and then I don't know. I've done experimental stuff like this. This is possible, you know. I think this is not so stupid. I don't know if you considered it. Because you can protect that, and you've got, like, play down the f file. If queen c4, and plus you're rolling with, like, d5, I mean, you can't even consider this, because d5 is just wonderful for black. He said thinking about king safe first. Well, those double pawns in the center actually are pretty useful. This bishop is extremely strong and extremely dangerous on this diagonal. I think that neutralizing it is actually in the best interest of your king safety. Believe it or not. You play knight d7 over protecting e5. But now we have a development problem. You're also moving the knight away from the king side, which makes me a little bit nervous. In itself, this move is probably okay, but how are we going to mobilize? We're going to play b6, bishop b7. I feel like white has lots of compensation. Someone on sound will tell you, because he plays this stuff with white. He likes white's compensation here. We just throw the rooks on the open files and everything's okay. Black is backward in development. I don't know which rook to put where with white. Amazingly, they're still following a game. But at least Lucas trades pieces. Wow. And now you get to trade double the pieces. Ooh. Just take. Always take. In the words of my this Sunday's opponent. My Sunday opponent like to say, always take. Always take and play this. And you knock out that bishop on b3. I mean, it's just... Maybe white can maintain enough to draw, I guess. You know, in this kind of... Maybe white can hold on for a draw. Based on, you know... I don't really like it, though. I mean, his structure is so shot, and those pawns are so weak. It's not really pretty. You know, I think white is really fighting an uphill battle here. You missed a golden opportunity there. a6 is slow. I mean, the point of 95 was to trade pieces, I thought. You know, now you let him, like, avoid trading pieces. You don't really want to do that. This bishop in particular is the one you want to get rid of. If you can. I mean, still black's position is okay. You missed opportunities to trade. And again, you have knight takes f3 check, queen f3, knight d4. Probably still possible. Rook c8, bishop e3, and e6. I don't see why this is a blunder. It just drops a pawn on b2. This is actually, whoops, b6. Now we have a problem. It appears with b6. So I probably wouldn't play a6 at all with black. But what's the deal here? Knight f3 check. Even if you play g takes f. Oh, h3 is just falling there. I mean, that is kind of gross. Yeah. Can't play that. He has to take with the queen. Then you... Oh, you have this anyway. That's funny. You still have the simplifying move. Knight d4. Because the rook on c1 is... The rook on d1, I should say, it's overloaded between protecting these things. Hard to see that, though, you know, tactically. If you're playing a fast game. What did you do? You did e6. Yeah, but this is maybe a problem because of bishop e6, knight b6, these invasions here. Still not that bad. I mean, even if you had to sack the exchange, it might not be that bad. Luckily, your queen has a square. If knight c7, you can go to e7. It's still okay. So you're still okay.
You know, even after making some inaccuracies. I think that white is actually smart to play this move, you know, and keep the pieces on the board. Yeah, but there's just no reason to play pawn takes. Now there's this pawn. Even if white loses his b2 pawn, you know, probably not that big a deal. He has some pressure here. He'll get that, at least. This ruins his kingside. He really ruined his kingside structure. Queen e7. And there's stuff like this. Yeah, for some reason you didn't see this idea of knight d4, but that's kind of tough. All right, here. It wasn't the easiest tactic to see. You should have seen it before when it wasn't a tactic. You could just trade pieces. Queen f3, and now you found it. That's funny. He saw it now after third try. We have the saying in English. The third try is a charm. And that just really trades everything off. I mean, you have two bishops, better pawn structure, and you're a pawn up, and you have better king safety. You have like every advantage. The only advantage white has is that his 5 pieces are all activated. Your rook is still kind of not in play on f8, but I think you can just put your bishop on c6 and like kill him. First you have to play bishop takes d4. Yeah, it's over. This is just over. I mean, this is awful. There's this diagonal. The queen is active. He can still fight on. This is losing the game instantly. Yeah, it's over. You missed it. That's a strong move too, though. I wouldn't say that. It doesn't matter. He has to win the exchange here. Yeah. So now it's just up the exchange. I almost don't like playing c5 because it blocks your bishop. I want to play like d5. How about that instead of c5? You're basically bearing down on f2. And I'd really like him to take and fix your pawn structure. You know, that would be awesome. This move actually blocks your own bishop. I feel like it's stronger to play d5. He's got one last chance on the white squares. He just missed it. So he has to play like bishop c4. After bishop c4, he's hanging on for a while. You know, he can really threaten to play f5 maybe. But this just loses a piece. Yeah, it's over. Doesn't matter. He's down a piece. Alright, good game. Guys, we're running a little bit behind here. I'm going to try to go faster. We're halfway through the stream. I have 5 games left to do. Is knight takes c6 even a threat? Yeah, Schnebler, when you said that, I was thinking about it. Where were we? Like here? Knight takes c6 isn't a real threat, you know. But I mean, my main idea is to play d5, and if you take here, you're taking here anyway. Like, you're overloading him. This would be, like, horrible. Even e7 is protected. No, knight takes c6 is not really a threat. Yeah, he's just totally melting down. He's going to lose everything here. Totally lost. Alright, so PSG Rook was the next one. Number 5. I try to get to as many games as I can, usually about 10 during the streams to analyze. There's no note with this. It's just Thursday games. All right, Thursday games. Oh my God, it's versus the Master of Mayhem, the demigod of demigod of. Check out the time control. That's rapid. Are you serious? A quarter of a minute plus 12 is rapid time control? That's crazy.
That's really funny. The weirdest time control of all time. The demigod of the Smith Mora. So you get 15 seconds to start and a 12-second increment. So Esserman plays the same line that I play against PSG. The exact same move order. C5. Here I've been playing CD consistently against PSG. It does bother me that it feels like CD is some sort of theoretical concession by black. Normally you don't want to release the tension if you feel like you're... Candyland? Is there a Candyland stream? There must be some, young woman who has a chess stream Bob can watch or something, so he can entertain all of his interests. I can't appeal to him, enough with my looks, like some other streamers. But E3, E6 from Esserman. I don't like E6. It's fine, but it's just not very active. And it definitely shouldn't be played by Esserman. He's even more aggressive than me, so I would think he would play something where he has more active pieces. I mean, E6 seems like it's just kind of a passive formation for black. The problem is G6. What's wrong with G6? Is it that bad? Is G6 just knight B5, knight A6, D takes C, and you lose a pawn? Lenderman versus Schroer. Draw. That doesn't bode well. Martinovich versus random guy. This is amazing that it's only been played twice. How is that even possible? So Lenderman did what I thought. It's okay, we'll try to win a pawn. I mean, this is a known variation with colors reversed. Schroer's not a bad player. Bishop E5. Man, white already has no advantage according to the computer. That's interesting. I mean, if Lenderman can't beat someone 300 points lower than him, there's something wrong with the opening. So, that's obviously not a refutation. This is not a refutation, folks. Knight A6. So what does the oracle say? C3. So C3 is somehow better? That's what Martinovich did? C3. Yeah, we're entering new opening territory. Computer has just revitalized this line for black. Knight H5. No, this is crazy. If you like your knights on the side of the board, this is the variation for you. Queen A4, Bishop D7. And of course, Queen takes A6. If you love pure entertainment. Oh, Sakura Rook is here. So you... Yeah, but I mean, I don't think... Yeah, okay. I don't think you can play that standard attack the same way, though, with your knight on B5, as it was on C3. This is a cool line. This has never been played before. Queen A6, BA6, Knight C7, check. Forced. Queen C7, Bishop C7. Rook C8, this is all forced moves, it looks like. Rook C8, Bishop A5. Super bizarre. Totally bizarre position. But it's just now black has to play Bishop B5 not to lose a pawn. Bishop b5, a b5, b takes c5, rook takes c5. Material is still balanced. That is an amazing line. I mean, it's funny. It's just, you know what amazes me, though, is that, like, nobody's ever played this. 2 games where this has been played with g6. Everyone just assumes that, like, g6 is bad. I guess the other question is taking on c5 right away. That would be another possibility. White doesn't have to play knight b5. Anyways, so we've established that g6 is playable. So Esserman, I think he would be better suited to playing g6. All right. Or, you know, the other variations, like what a6 is another move that's interesting. By the way, you know, a6 definitely weakening b6 slightly. I've been playing this against PSG Soccer Rook, which is solid for black. E6, knight b5, knight a6. So now a3, which I've never seen before. It's like the Eric Pre variation. PSG Soccer Rook should go to France, study under the guidance of Grandmaster Eric Pre, the master of Bishop f4 and a3. Do you know that opening? You should play that, PSG Soccer Rook. d4, d5. He did a new in chess yearbook survey of like knight f3, knight f3 and a3 against everything. This is like the pre-attack. See, pre-2007. And you can include Bishop f4 in a lot of variations with this. It's kind of a good system because people do. I won the one time I played it. You can actually transpose to forms of like the Queen's Gambit Accepted, kind of mix and match London system. It's funny. A funny system to play a3 really early. Anyway. Knight b5 here. a3, I don't get it. I mean, c3 is definitely normal. Of course, like you kind of wonder, what does c3 do anyway? Why not just develop a piece here with like knight f3? What's the problem? I don't really know. Is there an idea? Is it, I don't even get it. Like, what does c3 even do? It is to bring the queen out to a4 or something? It stops the bishop on d3 from getting attacked, I guess. I'm more concerned about the knight on b5. When you put the bishop on d3, you'll have all sorts of trouble. I think the bishop might end up going to e2 anyway. I'm not sure it matters here, you know, to put your bishop on d3. See, he did play bishop e2 to avoid all the harassment. Unlike the game earlier, in the proper London system, I feel like b3 is actually like a good move now. To me, it looks completely playable. I think you can go ahead and do that at this point, you know, if you want to. Except for the fact that it loses a piece. Alright, so you got a castle. Now your plan is to play b3. Yeah. Now the knight's attacked, unfortunately. Casting doubt on our whole scheme with... I mean, maybe that's the point with c3. You know, you've got to be able to play a4. And then you keep him paralyzed forever. It's like forever, dude. That's really annoying. I mean, I hate having my knight on a6. And I'm sure that anybody does. You can never get it off of a6. So now, I mean, if your pawn was on c3, you could play a4 and just, like, laugh at black. Seriously. If we change this position to c3 instead of a3 and play a4, if Osterman plays like queen b6, we can play b3. Bishop takes b5, a b5, queen b5, d bc with a great position for white. I think that's the point. You know, you play c3, you can protect the knight on b5 with a4, and black can never get the knight in the game. This is a little bit different. We have to retreat the knight now. And unbelievably, this is an actual game. What is the chance this is an actual game? These Ukrainian guys. No, Zhigalko is from... Okay, Zhigalko is from, like, Belarus. There's two Zhigalkos, and I get them confused. Isn't there two? Anyway, this is the stronger one. He actually plays here on lichess. Sergei Zhigalko. Uber driver, not with knight h5 again. Knight h5 is overrated. Okay, it's a move. I totally agree. It looks like a good move. Principle. Yeah, Zhigalko is from Belarus. Yeah, that's correct. But the other guy I think is probably Ukrainian. Bortnik. Knight h5, bishop e5, f6. Maybe he has some weird move here. He's going to have to play like bishop g3. And we give it up. We give it up. When black feels comfortable, he can take on g3. I mean, I think something like b5. Maybe we're going to play e4, though. You know, so it's not clear who's really better here. Is there something wrong with e4 that I'm missing? Why is that so bad? It just allows this bishop to get active. Maybe White needs to prepare it, but eventually he should be playing for e4. So I agree, Uber driver. Knight h5 is a good idea. It should be thrown in there. Bortnik just played b5 directly. I mean, Zhigalko. That's what Esserman did. You guys kept continuing the exact same game. What is the chance of this? Knight e5, exact same game. After 11 moves. Now it looks like a Barry attack for real. Right, all you need now is h4, h5, but he didn't play g6. This is a novelty. Move 12 novelty. Queen b6. Anybody like... Let's look at knight c7. Knight c7, knight d7, knight d7, queen d7, bishop c7, queen c7, knight b5, whatever, queen b8, knight c3, queen b2. I think that black could play this. I mean, obviously it looks passive, but the point is you're going to just expand. Move 11's here? Oh, move 11. How bad is knight c7? Because I hate having that knight on a6, you know? You can't live with a knight on a6 any longer. Master of Mayhem. It's enough, alright? I gotta get it off of a6, dude. You gotta get it off of a6. Seriously. Get it off of a6 already, okay? So, he's like, alright, whatever, g4. Dude, get the knight off of a6. Damn it. Bishop g3. I'm not sure what that does. I mean, I guess if nothing else, I can just throw the pawns now, you know. But Esserman eventually moves his knight off of a6. f4, the stonewall attack. Now, finally, knight c7. I mean, it looks like we can play maybe bishop f3 and allow for b5, b4, knight e2. f5 looks kind of random. It just looks a little bit premature. I would just play here. You know, it's not like he doesn't have a knight. He doesn't have a knight coming to e4 or anything. It's not a big deal. If f6, you just trade. You're fine here. This f5 looks to me like a little bit immature. I would say immature, premature. It's immature to play f5. Knight e5, bishop e5. Oops, there's a slight threat. That's very serious. So he takes before that can happen. Now, obviously, we burned our bridges behind us with f5. I mean, there's the e-file here that makes me nervous. That's why I didn't like it. I also don't know where... Ideally, we should have maybe a question about where our king should be. I had almost a similar game today I was analyzing with one of my students. And it was like, I said, okay, put your king on h1. I know it's scary to put your king on h1 while there's a bishop on c6. But it doesn't really matter because bishops can't jump over pawns. You know, obviously we won't be playing e4 anytime soon if we play king h1. Yeah, it is. Good point by Schnebler. These pieces are completely cut off. But I'm thinking that black might be just solid enough here. And I'm a little bit concerned, like rook a e8. I don't know, how's he going to do this? Rook a e8. The queen could come across laterally. So the bishop back to b7, probably. I wasn't sure about that move in the first place. Bishop c6. Okay, it's better on b7. This kills his own bishop. The computer suggests bishop g5. Probably better, you know, not to block the bishop in. He gets stymied now. And now I would be thinking how quickly I can play bishop d6 and trade that thing off with black. Esterman plays knight e8, but maybe rook e8. Oops. He's managed to make this work. Oh no. There goes the d5 pawn. Yep, that's the problem. So I was right. He's going to have to play like rook d8 now. But it's not pleasant. Queen g2 anyway. And it's very difficult for black to unravel. I think this was the critical mistake. You know, he really needs to get that bishop out. The engine is suggesting there. I mean, I don't know if there's some crazy sacrifice you could do, like f6. Maybe that's possible. Looks a little bit over the top. So let's see. Here. It looks like this is a clear blunder, though. Knight d6. Now he's kind of screwed. He's like losing the d5 pawn. Bishop d5 doesn't work well enough, right? He's just going to play bishop takes h2 check. I guess it's not that clear, though. Knight takes d5, bishop takes h2 check. He's going to win his pawn back. I guess you're better in the endgame with the central pawns, though. I mean, these pawns in the endgame are going to be very, very powerful. You get, you know, you get this endgame, and these pawns, ooh, this pawn is strong. Maybe he has an outside pawn, but I prefer the central pawns here. Uh-oh. Well, that's not really what I wanted to do. But I guess we have no way to play e4. Rook e4. It doesn't matter. Right. Very accurate. It's a beautiful endgame now. e4, e5. Will Esterman's, it's almost like a tale or something. Will Esterman's outside pawn save him from the ultimate demise? So he's using the immediate distractionary tactic. Yeah, it feels like an unpleasant game that black should probably hang on here. Not easy, but... What about the king placement? I mean, do we really want to like white walking over here to the h file? So probably king f7 might be a mistake. Maybe if he just plays like a5. What if he just goes here? b4. Should be a draw. Blobix, what's up? I think this move probably saves black, objectively. He'll probably be able to play b4. And white is better, but it's not enough to win. g5 looks kind of spastic, but it's probably okay. It does look like one of our endgames, Super Driver. So what do you guys think about a5 instead of king f7? See what the Oracle says. Oh, a5 is the best move. Whoops. Yeah. All right. Well, he doesn't have the Sladgie endgame technique, but he does know how to play the white side of the Smith-Morra. a5 is the move. He played King f7 and then Rook h1, so that kind of wasted some time. It's still difficult. I mean, can white play just like d5? Can we do something crazy here? He played a4. Oh no. Oh no. Is a4 decisive? If only Esserman had played a5 before white had a chance to play a4, it would have been a different story. But suddenly white had a4. And after pawn takes pawn, rook a1, rook b8, rook a4, rook b2, rook a7 check. It's bad time for Bonzo. Two connected pass pawns will eventually arise here on d4 and c3. a4 changes the whole game. Excuse me? Wow, radical defensive try. Okay, so pawn takes pawn. Rook b8. Or is he going to play? What's he going to do? He has to do pawn takes pawn, rook b8, b5, a6. How many pawns is he going to be down? He played this. That's like ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, rook b6 is going to save you. It's like you have to try a6, but it's horrifying. Down too many pawns. This seems like the last try to do a6. It is hard to believe this would hold on. I don't really know what to suggest. I don't think rook b6 does anything. He just resigned. Alright, well, almost a perfect game by white. Just 4 inaccuracies. Particularly notable the endgame technique with a4. Very, very strong move. Impressive win there by PSG Soccer Rook. Outplaying him in the endgame. Alright, so Slow Hand is up next. Mr. Slow Hand. Guys, we have a little over an hour left. I've got 4 games or so. a4 was a really good move, man. If you don't have that, I think he's holding on. He's holding on if he finds a5. Just barely. He's still worse, but I think he's probably going to hold. It should be a draw. I mean, white is better, but it's not enough. Okay, this is Mr. Slowhand. He's donated very generously 2,000 bits this week. I want to thank him for that. Thursday game analysis. Recent over-the-board blunder of me. Dream position for black. French defense stopped thinking. It was a horrific setback. Even was unable to settle for a draw. I went straight down. You looked at knight, takes d5, a move before my blunder. Didn't stop me. Alright, let's take a look. He's black. I'm not a French defense expert. Alright. Just gonna caution everyone. So, Mr. Slowhand seems like a pretty strong over-the-board player. 1900 FIDE or something like that. e4, e6, d4, d5, e5, c5, c3. The second one of these I've seen today. In another lesson we went over this. Knight c6, knight f3. And my other student played bishop d7 here. Again, I'm not a French defense expert. That appears to be the main line. And I don't know. I really don't know. You know, does anybody raise their hand? How do you define whether it's better to play bishop d7 or queen b6 in this position? And there are even other lines like knight e7. But I was always kind of taught or read that queen b6 was the main move for whatever reason. And then look at the opening explorer. It's like slightly more than bishop. The bishop d7 is slightly more. It faces a3 and b4, perhaps, according to Blubix. So you think bishop d7 encourages a3? But a3 is a move against queen b6 as well. I mean, that's an independent variation. This is like Kasparov. I have it right here. Revolution in the 70s talks about this a lot, you know, c4. I mean, I guess that's probably your you know, at least you're on the right track, Blubix. That probably your choice of these two moves maybe largely depends on how you like to handle a3. Maybe that's the answer. I think I like this, you know. But I guess this has a disadvantage in some respects. White can play the bishop to d3 now, without having to sacrifice a pawn like in Milner-Barry. All right. I just like putting my knight on h6. These are more standard moves. Queen b6, bishop e2. Today one of my students had a game he showed me where his opponent played the Milner-Barry. I was thinking of someone on sound. Someone on sound, do you play this? The Milner-Barry? So my student's game was like bishop d7, which is a major inaccuracy, and his opponent didn't take on c5. Or he played bishop d7, white played bishop d3, and he didn't take on d4. He played queen b6. And this is inaccurate because d takes c5. Bishop takes c5, b4, or castles, followed by b4. You have to play a5, and white is slightly better if you have to go into this. Ornaki, favorite move there. Kuprajcik, but let's see what happens here. He plays the positional move, bishop e2. But I guess what I wanted to say was, if white plays bishop d3, black plays cd4, cd4, bishop d7, anybody here who plays the French defense have an opinion about the Milner-Barry, the main line? After knight c3, should black take the pawn on e5, or should he play a6? This is the question I was trying to answer today. Anybody, any French defense players with an opinion on this? Watson actually recommended queen takes e5 in Play the French a lot, you know, and in these lines like rook e1, queen b8, it seemed like black is fine, you know, this seems fine. But on the other hand, the other lines with like cd4, bishop d7, castles, knight takes c3, whoops, castles, knight takes c3, damn it. Knight takes d4 it is. This variation. This a6 seems like it scores even better. No French defense player on the stream. Mr. Slowhand's probably not here. I assume we always have one, though. Pretty popular defense. It's hard to believe we don't have French defense players in the house. But a6 seems to score pretty well. All right. Anyway, bishop e2 was played. Just because you're French doesn't mean you're a French defense player, right, Blubix? Okay, so he played knight h6. Yeah, I like this. This seems like the best way for black to play. Why can't you take on c5 here for white? It's just not an option. Nobody does this. Oh, knight g4. Oh my god, you can play knight g4. Queen e1. And then take the pawn on e5. Alright, answered my own question. Alright, I like knight h6. And then white just played an utterly random move here, a4. It's like, what? Theoretical almost novelty, a4? Excuse me? My god, it was played by Z Mamadov, and he made a draw against Anton Guijarro. sorry, the real gambit. Things happen when you have to switch continents. It's a minor change in lifestyle. So, a4, I do not understand. Where, okay, I understand like you might be threatening a5, but I mean, why wouldn't black just exchange on d4 here? Hold on for a second, guys. I'll be right back. Why wouldn't black just play c takes d4? For me, it's difficult to understand. Player of his magnitude. I guess what Anton did is okay too, but for me, it seems no-brainer, to play cd4. There are weaknesses here. b4, b3 square. All right, so we're going to figure it out. That's weird. I thought when you banned someone, it would like remove their comments, wouldn't it? That is weird. Why am I banning someone and their comments aren't erased? Do we have any moderators left in the house? That's really strange. But normally when I ban someone, their comments get erased from the stream. US, we changed to summertime. We're like 1 hour. 1 hour different. The time change has taken place in both Europe and North America. So we're past that. We're on the same wavelength now. I don't get why Mamedov Anton Giharo went bishop d7. To me, that just looks kind of weird, I guess it's okay for black, but it seems much more clear to do what he did. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah. That's amazing. A 2600 player misjudged this position. But I agree with Slowhand with c takes d4. Yule Skinner, what's up? We did your game earlier. Impressive stuff. Thanks for subscribing, guys. Yule Skinner's almost a founder. He's got 27 months. cd4, cd4. So I think this move just radically weakens the queen side. I mean, b3 is weak. b4 is weak. a4 does not improve white's position. We asked for a French defense player, and we got one. Yule Skinner, what is your opinion of the Milner-Barry gambit? While we're here, like bishop d cd4, cd4, bishop d7, castles, knight takes d4. We're waiting for a French player, a French defense player, not a French player. We have one of those already. A French defense player to tell us whether they prefer a6 after knight c3. Do you prefer a6 or queen takes e5 in this position? Or maybe you don't even play this line going into it, We were just talking about this. I just thought it's funny that we were just asking the question and Yule Skinner just showed up and he plays the French. So, anyways, you always get in trouble in these lines. Do you have a preference? It should be good for black. And I think that's the moral of the story. I lump the Smith-Morra and the Milner-Barry just because they're both hyphenated, two name openings, into the same category in the trash dump, Some of that sound just for you. We dropped them in the trash dump of openings. The dung heap of chess openings. But seriously, knight f5, bishop b5, bishop d7. This is great for black. Bishop takes c6, and now we're all shocked. Wow. Every time you move a pawn, you weaken your position. So you have 3 possible recaptures here, and he goes for the ultra interesting b takes c. In a similar discussion earlier today, was it today? Yesterday. Tuesday. Wednesday. It was Wednesday. I was talking about this structure with b takes c. If knight a4. If we can play b takes c and we're guaranteed 100% to play c5, then Tao played Milner, killed somebody. Who is Milner anyway? At least we know who Barry is. B takes c6, sort of. The Barry attack? Is that the same? B takes c. I mean, so it's like much safer to play bishop takes c6 here, I think. Safer. Not necessarily better, but safer. Let's see what the Oracle says. Oh my god, the Oracle agreed. Bishop b4 check. I bet you guys didn't look at that, neither did I. Developing. You know, but there is a significant difference here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with bishop takes. It's perfectly solid for black, but certainly not as interesting. Okay, first of all, he's increasing his winning chances by creating a more dynamic pawn structure. But I think the fact that white has played a4 here might be the really important feature. Because that means, like, when we achieve c5, basically we're going to be raking down these 2 files here. The backwardness along the b file. Oh, Milner Barry are the same person. I thought it was like a hyphenated. I forgot. That's funny. I thought it was like a Smith-Mora. A Smith-Mora. Now, is he the same person that's named for the Barry attack, the Mark Hebden plays? With white? Like an English master? Or is it hyphenated, but it's just the same guy? It's all one name. Is there a hyphen or not with Milner Barry? With or without hyphen? Bang, c5. All right, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight c3, castles. Ludwig, welcome. We're flirting with b4, just so you know. I assume we can take it and play a5. Like, there's really nothing to fear, right? He's really not threatening b4 if we could just take it and play a5. So I guess there's no reason. The gut reaction is to play a5 automatically here. But, you know, it might be more flexible not to necessarily play that move. I'm not a French player. I don't know. I like our position. We have a protected pass pawn. I had the exact same structure I looked at today. An exact same opening. Swear to God. Exact same structure. Backward B pawn. Advance French. Black's clearly better. He has a protected pass pawn on d5. White's only chance is the queenside majority. If we silence it with a5, I mean, that's got to be a good move. But I don't think that b4 is even a threat. But it's still not easy to win for black, you know. I just feel like knight d4 is a move that I don't necessarily really have an opinion about, you know. It's only move 14, and we're still not fully developed. Yeah, I agree with Stook. I mean, I feel like We're still not fully developed. Exactly. Like the rooks are not in play. We could play rook b8 or rook c8 or a5 or other rook to c8 or maybe, I don't know, a lot of different things we could do. I don't think that knight d4 is necessarily a bad move. It might allow white some sort of tactic with a5 though. Are we walking into knight d4, bishop d4, a5? Some kind of distractionary overloading tactic where our bishop won't be protected? I mean, I don't know. I would probably look at a5. I guess we have to take first and play a5. And now white has queen b4 or queen c5. If queen b4 just looks like white is losing, actually. There's a cross-country pin that doesn't work. That's funny. The only way to lose instantly for white is like queen g4. Ice cream. No talking about food on the stream. That's rule number 1. When I haven't eaten dinner yet. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Knight d4, alright. h3, utterly random move. Knight takes f3 check. Queen f3. Arguably developing white's queen for him. But this is an aggressive intention. Risky but aggressive, but it's hard to argue with f6. It's anti-positional in a way. You know, Nimzovich didn't always like it. If queen g3, do we have some sort of tactics? We could just take on e5, take on f2. Excuse me, guys. I don't know. Alright, he just takes. I guess it's the same difference, except it speeds up black's development. Oh my god. That sucks. That's reminding me of my tournament game. I can't calculate like one move deep. I think you found your opponent's strong point. You know, the strong part of his game. He's a specialist in one-move tactics. Man. All right. So knight takes d5 just changes everything. I mean, you know, you gotta wonder at this point. Is it worth the risk of playing f6 at the end of the day? I think it is. You could just prepare it. One move, I mean, leaving the rook on a8, we have to argue. I feel like the mistake that he made was when we went here. Like I was talking about with Stook. What about the rooks? Why are they... I understand, okay, he's aiming for f6, then get this rook in the game, you know? c8 or b8, depending on what your plan is. Computer actually likes playing on the queen side here. You know, it doesn't even want to play f6. It just wants to play like rook fb8, like a Benko. I mean, the question becomes, should Mr. Slowhand even be thinking about playing f6 here? Because it feels like I'm not taking game requests. I'm playing through some games from the subscribers. We got 3 more left. Thanks for the challenge. I can't take it now. It seems like white is like bankrupt. With the protected pass pawn and just the pressure. I don't know about b8. I would probably play like rook a b8 and rook fc8. Computer says b4. I mean, I'm just taking that. And on knight a2, we're playing a5. We're up a pawn for nothing. If you really want to be on the same side, the safe side, then a5 right away, followed by something like rook b8 and rook fc8. And you never have any risk at all. I don't think that white has a kingside attack. So, never play f6. Ben was right. Never get out of the boat. Never get out of the boat. Knight d4. Losing time. Mobilizing the white queen for him. Essentially. We didn't gain anything with knight d4. What did we do? We traded a powerfully outposted knight on f5 for a not so powerfully outposted knight on d4. On f3. You know, at the end of the day. See, I don't like that move. We have that's like our best placed piece, the knight on f5. In fact, I mean, if this guy's going to play like g4, something insane, you know, more power to him. Go ahead and play g4. You know, if you want to like wreck your king side and weaken yourself, go ahead and play g4. You know, I don't think we have to fear that. Then maybe you go ahead and play knight d4 if he's going to play g4, which would interfere with his queen, by the way. No, I think this was his really big mistake positionally, playing knight d4. It just doesn't contribute to black's position. Kind of unlucky. Can we not recapture here? Yeah, rook a c8. Maybe that's the answer. White's still worse after this, but it's getting unclear. So pawn takes, queen takes check. Yeah, I mean, this is very similar to how I lost my team game on Sunday. I made a blunder, a really bad tactical blunder, and the same kind of thing where I basically could have saved the game, but I lost my concentration, more or less. You know, it's very tough to focus when you make some kind of huge mistake. So he didn't find queen e6 here. Queen e6. It's still not an easy game to save. You'd A, be down 2 pawns, opposite-colored bishops. Or in this line, you're down the exchange, but white seems to have problems with threats against f2. This actually wins for black. So he literally would have had to take here, and you're down 2 pawns in opposite-colored bishop endgame. But it's sharp, and there's some compensation. So this is like the same thing I did on Sunday. I made one blunder that almost loses the game, but then I made a second blunder, not finding the best chance to draw. And that's exactly what he did. Bishop e6. Queen a8 check, rook f8. I mean, this actually looks interesting. It looks close. But I think the threats against f2 aren't enough here. We're just going to win a pawn back, but we're still going to be down the exchange and a pawn. Unfortunately. Probably the best is to take on f2. But it's not great. I don't see what this does, though. Practical chances only. Obviously, there's practical chances. Maybe queen d6. What are we going to do? That's a nice little cheapo. Threatening bishop c4. Beautiful. Some more senseless moves. Well, I mean, this is a funny position to leave off because it looks like you are threatening. You're threatening nothing. Oh, no. Because bishop c4, queen c4, bishop f2, rook f2. Queen c4, rook f8 check. And you're back ranked. So you're literally going to have to play h6 in order to threaten bishop c4. In the meantime, white can play like this. Anyway, it's over. All right. So, tough loss. Very much like me, you just need to double check. I think the less you play, the more you need to sort of double check every single move for blunders. That's what I learned on Sunday. I'm going to be extra careful next time with everything I calculate. All right, where are we? So Jim, Astrobate, and Good 40. I think I went past it. There's Jim. Give priority if you have other games, many games to analyze. Crazy game against Danish. It's funny. The team that I played on Sunday, he's actually their second board. He's lower rated than my opponent, I guess. But he's living in America now. So he couldn't play. They didn't bring him back to play board 2. D4, knight f6, c4, e5. Jim is playing the Morales defense. Morales is not here tonight. Resident Budapest Gambit player for the stream. I will occasionally bring this out. I guess Danish had enough of the Budapest Gambit, so he just played e3. This is obviously, you know, just a reverse French or whatever. I mean, of course it's harmless. But, okay, you know, play it. Why not? e3, e takes d4. I don't know what I prefer here, you know. You're black. I mean, e4 is sort of Nimzovich-y, and, you know, I think that's sort of fun, but not objectively as correct, I guess, as taking. Taking should be the best move, I guess. There is bishop b4 check, too, playing it like a bogo. Maybe that's even better. Just play it like a bogo, or exchange for... There's a game here, Mitsis is white. Mitsis plays the... he's a specialist in c4 against the French, basically. So I could see how this could transpose to exchange French with c4 very easily. This game, Mises versus Nixans. I usually play against people in some of my streams, Blair. But Thursdays is specifically a day that I analyze some of our games with the subscribers. Some of the subscribers' games, and that's what we're doing here. So I'm not taking challenges now. Got half an hour to go, and I'm going over three last games for tonight. But this looks like it might even be better. Bishop e4 check. Just get the pieces out. You're equalizing. So 3 possibilities. This is the best. This is pretty good. That should be fine. Really, they should be equally good. I mean, if you really want to be, you know, creative, you can play knight c6. I mean, what could possibly be wrong with knight c6? If you're playing the 2 knights tango, he's like down a tempo because he hasn't played e4 yet. I mean, if you really want to be creative here, I don't see anything wrong with knight c6. Probably white would play knight f3. Alright, well, let's see what happens. So e takes d4, e takes d4, and now d5, transposing to an exchange French, the Mises variation. One of your friends likes to stream chess, looking for tips. Send them this way. Definitely. I'm streaming European time at the moment. Will be for the foreseeable future. I have 2 stream times. Either the evening European time, like 6:30 p.m., or we also do 10 a.m. European time, which is the middle of the early night, like 4 a.m. USA. Knight c3, bishop b4. That's not the only way to play. There are more solid ways for black here. I don't know the best. It's another French defense. It's like, what is it with today with the French defense? It's hard to say. Bishop e7 is more solid. Actually, don't you play this with white? Someone on sound? Is he here? I thought someone on sound might have played this. He plays this with white. I might have had a correspondence game with him. Bishop b4, again, is a more active defense. This is recommended in some books. Knight c6 is debatable. I really don't know, you know, what I like the best. I think castles I even had a game with white once I lost in the Hungarian Team Championship. Somehow I ended up playing this with white. I still don't even know how that happened, but ended up losing. Castles, Air de Jambor, I remember that. How do we lose with white? Castles looks good. Knight c6 is interesting. Now knight e2. Rachmaninoff. Rachmaninoff is a rock. He's a one move. He's a one square kind of guy. Edge Kotska. This guy is a very impressive player. If you have a look at his games, Alexander Rachmaninoff, nice style. Karpov Jr. But knight c6, knight e2, so as not to get bishop g forward. This is starting to look like a Nimzo Indian. This is very provocative. Yeah, Nimzo, you're in the same mindset as me, Uber driver. It could transpose. It could transpose to a Rubinstein variation of the Nimzo. It's kind of possible. But I think Queen's Gambit accepted is the more common transposition. This is a very provocative move by black. Bishop g4, we're out of book. White has yet to win a game in 5 games from this position. Obviously, if you like isolated queen pawns, you can take on c4. That was the one game black won. But it was a 25-15 playing a 2006 player, so I don't really like White's chances there. 500 rating points down. Engine also agrees taking... This is the most aggressive move you can play, I think, in this position. Problem is, if he plays f3, he weakens his king in terms of the d4 square and that diagonal there. That could be a problem later on. And a3 looks incredibly slow. We've really got a Nimzo now. D takes, B takes C. It could be a Nimzo, it could be a Petrov. It's related to all these openings. This is a strange move. This is like a really strange move. I mean, are you trying to castle queenside? Are you crazy, man? You're not even thinking about castling queenside, I hope. Oh my god, dude. Jim, you're not normal. You just castle kingside and have a very solid position. You could play... Are you afraid of bishop g5? Like you can't get out of that pin? I mean, is this seriously... I don't think that's a problem. You know, I mean, he's got bigger problems here along the E file. If you just castle, it's hard to imagine that black isn't slightly better. Castles is nuts. Like queenside castle, this is crazy. And against a strong player too. You're just asking to get your head handed to you. Castles queenside. I mean, there's the B file here. It's like castling queenside in the Petrov. Have you guys ever seen anyone castle queenside in the Petrov? I guess it happens. It happens in the knight c3 variation, in the Nimzovich variation of the Petrov. It's very rare to castle queenside in the Petrov, to say the least. How about castling queenside in the Queen's Gambit accepted? This file doesn't look dangerous or anything. All right, it's all in good fun. He played a quiet move, queen c2. That was a restrained move by white. You know, probably a bad move, actually. Not as aggressive as some other options here by white. Very, very safe. I like his bishop on c1. Well, you really want to get rid of that white squared bishop on c4. That's the one piece that looks nasty. Like the computer's saying knight a5, standard Petrov type of thing. I mean, it does happen. Queenside castling in exchange French happens. This is technically an exchange French. But you don't often see people castle queenside in the exchange French where white is like opening the game with c4 early. That is not usual. Oh boy. Here. This piece bothers me. His other bishop is pretty dormant. But right now, I mean, he's going to take you out with 2 bishops versus 2 knights. He's going to take your bishop off of g6. That is not okay. That is not okay, man. I was looking at bishop e4. But then you get pinned. Pin it and win it. Very, very problematic. So you had to settle for bishop f5, and it's like, ugh. I mean, even this looks dangerous enough. Your king is going to have to be living on d7. Air conditioning. That's the great thing about Greece. Like, you have air conditioning everywhere. Even his king has air conditioning. Bishop d2, g5. Knight h5. That's weird. What's he doing over there? I'm actually kind of happy to see that knight over there. It's not participating with the other children in reindeer games on the queen side. And aren't we like kind of happy to see it over there? It's out in the wild. I'm more focused on what's going to happen over here. It's lucky, I mean, obviously the bishop on f5 is stopping rook b1, thank God. Otherwise we'd be annihilated immediately. There's another issue here. Jim is going to lose his queen to something like rook e1, queen d7, knight. He's basically trying to trap his queen with like rook e1, queen d7, knight f6. That's the current problem. You just go ballistic with g4. This is the only real problem. It looks like rook e1. But it's a big problem. But Jim is crazy to play this way against a strong player. I mean, to play this way against a weak player would be nuts enough, but it goes completely nuts. And then knight g3, why? Is he afraid of this? Is that the whole point, Jim? You've got queen h4? I just realized. It's not so crazy, you know? He actually has a logic behind g4. He gave his queen a square. It just occurred to me. It's an important tempo, and he doesn't get his queen trapped on d7. That looks like a good move, actually. Man, and now it's just like game over. I almost like black better. You get the ability to open up his king side. I'm starting to think that black might be better in this position with g takes h. If he takes your knight away from d6, he takes away your defense away from b7. And then he figures he can get something going. So he's close. It just became a race, a little bit scary for white now, because Jim can open up the king side. The pawn storm is a must-stop side castling. Well, I misunderstood g4 at first. I didn't realize it was about freeing the queen, you know, for h4. Like the computer said h takes g4, he had to take, preserve his structure. White should have preserved the structure and not allow black to open up the king as quickly. So he misjudged this. He allowed g takes h3, and now black has counterplay. Pretty scary counterplay. This is a good heads-up move. It looks like a good move. Yeah, but Jim just failed to take here. I mean, after h2, he can hide behind the pawn like king h1. It's like a Sicilian defense. You can't let him hide behind the pawn. I would think like even queen h4 is a good move. I mean, even this is probably okay. What's he gonna do? That's so scary. Bishop takes c6. No. Maybe there's some way he could take on d6 and take on f5. It seems almost insane. Yeah, he can actually do that. That's a problem. Probably a problem. So you should just take on a g2 and open up. Now he's going to try to hide behind that, but you can't hide behind that for long. Because this is coming, you know. There might be some real threats of like rook takes g3 and queen h1 coming pretty soon. Oh, this is funny. What is this? Analysis variation? This is some analysis variation, according to the computer. And then the air conditioning kicks in with king d7. It's a little breezy in here, but it's okay. The humidity, it's the humidity that will kill you. We're threatening rook takes g3. That's the important thing. The beginning of a mating attack. So that's fun. It was fun. But this didn't happen. He played h2 and then king h1. I mean, Danish's instincts are pretty good, so he's not interested in getting mated. Bishop d3, rook e1, queen h4. Now we have no real threat. I mean, there's a cheapo against the bishop, but we can't get him. But that h2 pawn is the human shield. It's a war crime. Nope. There's no way to get at the white king. Now black's just defending. Yeah, this is like time pressure, I think. I mean, I just don't see a reason, really. I guess Jim is threatening queen takes d4 here, actually. So the computer thinks that like rook d1 is the best move. In time pressure, probably he played this, and he gives up a pretty strong piece, honestly. After all this, Danish didn't manage to do any damage to Jim's king side. We've got 2 games left. Yeah. Acerbate and you. Acerbate in good 40%. Jim has a tendency to sometimes sort of tragically lose good games at the end. He was better. The bishop is better than the knight. And the king is relatively safe now. He can play b6 if he has to. He goes for f5, rook b1, and then what? Air conditioning kicks in again. Queen check, king d7. It actually looks okay. I don't even see what the problem is. Oh my gosh. Is there some like rook e7? No. d5, rook c5 looks okay. I mean, I think Jim can be forgiven if there's something for white here. I don't see it. You know, I just don't see it. Oh, I mean, what is there for white in this position? Okay, okay. Apparently white is winning. Wow. That's unbelievable. There's a sick mate here with queen a6, pawn takes rook. That's ridiculous. Like, there's 2 mates. Both rooks are hanging on b1 and e3 simultaneously. And white is winning with queen a6. I mean, I never would have seen this. There's this threat. And rook b8 down. So, what if we take that rook? Oh, then it's like queen e6 check and you take the rook on g8. So he had a win, but it was very hard to see. And even the Grandmaster did not find it. I don't blame him. Jim had a tough win to find here. Queen g4. Impossible to find that in time pressure. So he does a natural thing and this apparently loses. But I think at the end of the day, it's just now it just became like a good exchange sack. He has 3 pieces attacking your king, and you just didn't find anything. So what if you just don't panic here? You know, how many good moves are there in this position for black? Queen g4 wins, queen g5 draws, apparently. That's tough to find in time pressure. So he just took. He couldn't resist. He couldn't resist the candy. The attack is too strong. The black king is wide open. Eventually something fell. Alright guys, 2 last games. Acerbate. Chess lecture. Is that it? Sorry, that's the wrong thing. Wait. Acerbate, where's your game? Where is Acerbate's game? Did I miss it? Is this it? Thursday analysis stream submission. Oh, it's a quick one. All right, that's perfect because we're running out of time. Thanks, Jim. That was an entertaining game, man. That was fun. But I think you're a little bit nuts. You know, like against the exchange French, you can play queenside castle type setups, but you know, you really want to reserve that for the weaker opponents that you have to beat. I wouldn't do that against a stronger player. It's kind of safer to castle king side. Alright, so this is Acerbate playing white. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, bishop c5, c3, h6. I'm too popular. Too many emails. Mostly business related. h6. I don't like h6. You know, I as I showed Stuk and other people before, I don't think you should fear white playing bishop g5. In fact, I think that black should actually embrace that, because so many times, if bishop g5, h6 later, bishop h4, I feel like the bishop on h4 actually just ends up like kind of out of play. If actually, eventually black can play h6 and g5 and shut it down. a5, yeah, that's the trendy move, Bornaki. We saw this last week somewhere. I mean, a5, actually I did a lecture for chesslecture.com recently with another game with a5. I don't see what the big fascination is with a5. Yeah, h6, not great either. b4. So this is a line. I've never really personally been attracted to b4, a4. But I will go on record here. Yeah, this just doesn't work. I'll go on record here as saying that this is okay as long as black doesn't break with d5. Because if black gets in d5, it takes with the knight on d5, and the position starts to open up. If the position opens up enough, you know, black will get pressure down the d line. Nakamura lost a really bad game to Grishuk in a structure like that this year. He got wasted eventually with these funky, like, messed up, ugly double backward pawns, I should say. So you got to be careful that black can't break out with d5. He has to play a6 so he can meet, like, b5 with takes. After this, I mean, this variation is probably as old as the hills, you know? I mean, there's probably ancient games from like 100 years ago with like a6. Well, even then, they knew not to play h6. It wasn't that great. Yeah, so he has to go here or here, here. Try to play d5. That's the only chance. I mean, this just amounts to a pawn sacrifice. Maybe black has some compensation. I don't know which knight. Apparently you have to do the other knight because bishop a3. Maybe black has some chance here. It's just a pawn. This is horrific, right? Like, you lose a pawn and you put your knight on a7. I mean, the last time I played with my knight on a7 was a game in, like, 1999. And I lost to the Brazilian Grandmaster Rafael Leitao. And I'll never ever put my knight on a7 again. I mean, Rockport likes that, you know, knight a2, knight a7. I mean, I always talk about how bad a square b6 is for your knight. I mean, seriously, like b6 is a bad square, but a7 is another category altogether. Like a7, you might as well just like put it off the board, you know. I mean, just a8, like Emery Tate or something, probably has more potential than a7. Seriously. This is just horrific. How will that game knight really get back in the game ever? You know, it's like you have a choice. You can put your knight in the center, or you can put it on the side of the board. Which do you choose? I'll put it on the side of the board. Okay. Bishop a3, c6, trying to break with d5. Yeah, I mean, honestly, bishop a3 was pretty aggressive, but it's a strong move. Mate. The object of the game is mate. Brought to you by Asterbait. Straight into the point. I like that. I wouldn't even classify that as a cheapo, Asterbait. I think that was just like a good move, you know. Nice one. All right, that was cute. Very, very beautiful. 22 center pawn loss with 1 inaccuracy. His inaccuracy was bishop a3. He's supposed to take the pawn directly. But then he wouldn't have been able to mate him. You know, that's the whole point. If castles, there's no chance anymore. Bishop a3, the computer says this is dubious. He's setting up mate in 1. That's what he was up to. You just wonder what's happening. c6, knight takes e5. The computer doesn't know everything. I mean, possible mate is stronger than the best move. All right, guys, last game for today. I'm going to go over a good 40%. Then I got to get some dinner. I'm starving. Send me some food. Food delivery. The best and worst game ever played by me. The best and worst game. He literally cried after I left. I was black. Oh, another... It's another Italian game. It's thematic. Correspondence chess. Alright, what's the time control? We don't know. 75 plus 10. Here we go again. But his opponent played d4. Yeah. The Gingy attack. So... Well, there's no choice. Like, you have to take. This is the critical moment. White can play either e5 or castle. So, he plays castles the Max Lang. You know, more commonly we see people playing e5. I had a game with somebody on the stream a few months ago, maybe in the spring. There is this Bronstein variation. I was talking about this with my friend Joe, the Weed Master. Joe knows the Max Lang really well. He's been playing the black side for like 30 plus years. He kind of didn't think this is a solution, but I think it's more fun than playing the standard lines with knight e4. There was somebody, maybe Clash Kid. I was having some games. But anyway, castles. This is normal Max Lang. e5, d5. It's just good for black, I think. He takes f6, d takes c4. We'll see what the Oracle says. I assumed the Max Lang was like a tiny bit better for black. I'm not sure if I ever like looked at it with a computer. I seriously assumed that. I assumed it's like 0.1 or 0.2 better for black. Computer is calling it a dead equality, like 0. That's amazing. I mean, is there some sort of forced draw? F takes g7, rook g8. Now there's a couple different lines. Rook e1 is like main line. So this is a correspondence game? Or just an over-the-board game? It's over-the-board game. Yeah, I mean, this is super well known. Joe used to play this stuff. Actually, he would play it for both sides. I've never played a tournament game in my life in either side of this opening. It's fun. It's more dynamic for black, I feel like. This looks like a typical mistake. I mean, you're just not developing any pieces. You're not developing your pieces. You're moving the same piece twice, right? It's a tempting move, but it's like a classic mistake. Mathematically, You know, moving the same piece twice isn't good. It's too early in the game to be moving the same piece twice. Yeah, you didn't play queen d5. Even I know that. That's the beautiful square. So it's like there's a line here, knight c3, queen f5. You know, that's the tricky trick, right? Because it takes, queen takes d5. You don't know the max slang. There's these little tricks with knight c3. So this is some variation, like here. I wasn't sure if like g4 is a move. There's still theory. You're welcome, Mule Skinner. So that didn't happen. So you didn't know the theory. Wow. And you played queen e7. Yeah, I mean, I guess so the theory continues. Queen f5, knight e4. And here I don't know. You know, I remember Joe having a game years ago. Bishop e7. I would assume you would like want to hang on to that bishop pair, or at least that bishop. g4. I think I've seen this. It's like the wife of grandmasters. Battle of grandmaster wives. Svetlana Agrest against Nina Samovuo. I think he's like, he's actually a Facebook friend. Okay. Here, knight e4. Wow. Yeah, that's the best line. Queen e7, apparently a mistake. It looks like an obvious move. So now you're going to have to live with your king on d7. Air conditioning. You've got a lot of central heating actually here. I mean, that's pretty safe. The problem is the g7 pawn. The only problem with black's position is the g7 pawn. And the dude just gives it away, you know. The only thing everyone saw was bishop h6, except for you. Like, literally the only good thing about white's position is his pawn on g7, and he just gives it up. That's unbelievable, right? Because everything else is like in black's favor. The central mass is like crushing. Black's pieces are all active. If you give him the g7 pawn, it's going to be a powerful counterplay along the g file. This is unbelievable. He played this. I mean, does that just lose by force? I mean, what about this? Isn't that mate on g2? You're going to win a piece, right? You can't win a piece because queen g7 h4. Black has a queenside majority of 5 against 3. I mean, that's the other thing. In any kind of endgame, how are you feeling about your 5 against 3? If the queens were to get traded or something? I mean, at the end of the day, black is just a pawn up. You know, it's the Max Lang. It's sort of like completely burned his bridges behind him. Only move. And now what? I think if you just took the queens off the board, probably the endgame is going to be very difficult for white to hold. But we can't really force a trade of queens. You could think about it. You know, you might have queen g6. I mean, good 40% is a very aggressive player. He likes to attack. But the first move I'm looking at is queen g6 here. There are some technical problems, though, like queen g6, I don't know, rook g6, knight d2, and then can you hold the pawn on c4 because of b5, a4? It's actually really complicated. There's variations like queen g6, rook g6, knight d2, b5. If a4, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned that our structure will fall apart. We can go here, maybe. But this is very difficult to calculate so much. You know, the idea would be to fork. If he defends the fork, then we can play like c6 and keep the pawn mass alive, you know, and I think black has good chances of winning. But it's still a tough game. Anyway, I have no idea what the best move is. My instinct is to try to force a trade of queens to clarify the situation. Black is clearly better. You played rook f8. Developing a piece, it's got to be a good move. I'm curious what the engine says. It started with my move in the top two, and then it switched over to this move that you played. This is a move, apparently. This is a safer move, but this is probably the strongest according to the engine. Rook f8, and now queen e2. I mean, the nice thing about queen g6 is it protects e6 in advance. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm not worried about when I play queen g6. Nothing is hanging. I mean, he's got a serious problem here, right? So if queen e2, he's starting c4, he's starting e6, he's starting mate in 1. I mean, this Asturbate's special. Okay, you can play e5, then he takes on c4 with a hit on the bishop on c5. But what is the moral of the story? Like, they might even still be winning for black if you were to just like lose that pawn. Oh, my move, queen g6 now. I guess at the end of the day, like, he has no way of protecting g2. It's just a matter of time till you play h6, right? This is inconsistent. I mean, to play rook e8, you know, is really inconsistent. You've said that, and now you got to stick with it. I would play e5. I mean, I think even e5 is probably good for black. Whoops, it's not good. There's this. We're taking a walk now. Man, it sucks. I thought we had even e5. You can't play e5. So rook e8 is okay, but protecting it with the queen is better. And you can't play e5. So you're winning. You're just threatening this. It's good enough what you did. And that's it. You win a piece. Game over. Yeah. Okay, so now it's just a matter of technique, as they say. You're up a clear piece. He's got one pawn for a piece, you know, with a triple attack against e6. Just queen g6, and it's over. You played e5, and I don't like e5 because it weakens the white square complex a little bit. Like, this move actually improves our control of the white squares. You're not ceding d5 to white. You're protecting g6. It's easy to sit there like you're up a piece, it wins itself. I've done it a million times. But you still have to continue to be accurate when you're up a piece. I think that e5 weakens your white squares a little bit, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be really a big deal, but there's a chance for white, you know, when you weaken the white squares. I think this is a good instinct, though, to get the king, and it's a winning position. Why bishop e7? It's a good move, too. Sometimes you have so many good moves, it's hard to choose between them. I would think, like, you just played king c8. Why not play king b8? Like, seriously. Get the king to safety once and for all, you know, and just be done with it. I mean, I wouldn't let anything, you know, take any chances here whatsoever. You can drop mate on c7 somehow. It's possible, right? Now you can't take with a knight on d4 without allowing, like, mate on c7. Damn. And now you start freaking out. Looks like rook g5. So bishop h4? Anyone? Takers? I like it. There it is. We're still winning. Now, bishop g3 allows rook g5. I hope you see that. You have to calculate. I didn't calculate it. We're having this discussion about 2 rooks versus the queen. Nakamura claims that, you know, the queen is better than 2 rooks or whatever. I'm not sure in what context he said that. I probably wouldn't play bishop takes g3 unless I calculated this all the way out. So what's up here? What's happening now, basically, is the question. What's the next move? We just take on g5, and you have 2 rooks and a knight for the queen. That's more than enough. You know, 2 rooks and a knight for the queen, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, you just have to take here, and you have 2 rooks and a knight for the queen. It's a win. He's going to have to take, and you play like rook e3 or something. And you're just going to win. Without the knight, it would be interesting, you know. So you drop the mate. Oh my god, you dropped the rook with check. That's heartbreaking. Sadly, you're almost still in the game. That's the saddest part. Like, you almost have to play it out. And then what happened? Did you resign now? This is ironic. I wouldn't resign now. But it's lost. You know, it's lost. Yeah, you almost have enough material. You're down 2 points of material here. If you didn't have an F-pawn, I would say like your fortress chances were massive. You know. If he didn't have a passed pawn, if there was no F2 pawn, I would never ever give up here. But that pawn really makes a huge difference. Yeah, all right, guys. It was a tough loss. Thanks everybody for watching. Therapeutic to go over the games. Now play some games and beat some people. I'll talk to you guys later. Next stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. European time. I'll be playing Blitz 5+3 against all challengers. See you guys there. Thanks everybody. Thanks to all of our moderators who are here. Mr. Coffee. Euron was here. No JCS today. I'll see you guys later. Have a great one. Thanks for subscribing and supporting the stream. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Where am I? See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.